A son battles his father for control of the universe and seizes more power than any god ever had. This is the story of Zeus, Greek mythology's supreme commander. To us, it's a myth, but to the ancients, it was reality, a way to make sense of a terrifying world. Some Greeks believed Zeus was the one true god, centuries before Christ, and that nature's worst catastrophes were a sign of his wrath. This is the myth of Zeus, as it was originally told, and the surprising truth behind it. If you control the sky, you control the world. In Greek mythology, that power belongs to one god, Zeus. He reigns as the enforcer of justice, the master of men and gods.
Zeus was the king of the gods, but he was also responsible for dispensing justice, both to the gods and to mortals on the earth.
This is something really cool about Greek mythology, because one of the things that you were supposed to do as a Greek when you worshiped the gods was simply to do what was required to keep the gods from squashing you.
As commander of the skies, Zeus has the power of nature at his disposal. That gives him the most devastating weapon of all.
The most powerful symbol of Zeus is the lightning bolt. This is what Zeus carries. It's his main accoutrement, and it's the thing that makes him the most powerful of all the divinities.
Attributing lightning to Zeus was a way for the Greeks to explain the unexplainable. In a time before science, mythology put faces on the forces that shaped the world.
The Greeks used mythology to try and figure out why the world operates the way that it does. They didn't have scientific explanations yet for how the world came into existence, or why lightning strikes here but not there, or why it strikes then and not some other time.
The natural world was very frightening to them, so they associated it with the divine. These were symptoms of the gods' power that they could use to punish people who hadn't worshipped them properly.
Zeus's command over nature would make him Greece's most feared god. But how did he get there? What we know of Zeus begins with the writings of the ancient Greek author Hesiod, around 700 BC. His book, called Theogony, was the ancient Greek story of creation. What the book of Genesis is to our own world.
Theogony is Hesiod's attempt to make sense of the world, to bring order to it by telling the story of a dynastic family rivalry that winds up in a well-ordered cosmos that is the world that you and I know today.
In the myth, Zeus doesn't start out as the king of the gods. He rises from obscurity to challenge his father for control of the universe. And that won't be easy. His father is Kronos. He is king of the Titans, the most powerful gods in the universe.
The Titans are an older order of Greek god. They're pretty rough around the edges. They're not too bright. They're also not very well civilized.
As leader of the Titans, Cronus is expected to produce offspring. So he mates with his own flesh and blood, his sister and fellow Titan, Rhea.
Incest shows up quite a bit in mythology. Among the gods, there's really nobody else at the beginning for them to have sex with, so they end up marrying one another.
There's an old-time aristocratic idea that says that no one else is good enough for our family except only our family. And the Greek gods definitely seem to ascribe to this kind of a principle.
These two Titan siblings, Cronus and Rhea, produce the next generation of Greek gods. Mythology's household names, the Olympians. Among them are Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus. But they will not simply inherit the earth. They must fight for it.
Kronos was very worried about having children because he was concerned that his son would be greater than him and would supplant him.
The father fears being replaced by the son. That's human psychology. I mean, you go to Freud, and actually Freud found it in classical mythology. So this fear of losing your power to the next generation was real. If you had a kid and you had something worth taking, at some point you needed to keep an eye on the kid.
So his solution to this problem was to swallow alive all of his offspring. As soon as his wife gave birth, he would actually ingest them.
Now, of course, since they're immortal, the children that Kronos swallows are not dead. They are just locked away inside of his belly. He's trying to control them and keep them from developing a power base so they might be able to overthrow him.
To the Greeks who told the myth, this was an appalling act. Cannibalism was as deplorable then as now.
We see the Greek authors giving voice to their fears through mythology. Cannibalism, sacrifice were horrible taboos. But when you project these things onto the gods, it gives you a safe place to explore the consequences of what might happen.
Rhea is horrified. All 5 of her children have been swallowed alive. Now, she is pregnant again. But this time, she has a plan. She sneaks away and gives birth in secret to a son, the future king of the gods, Zeus. But Cronus is expecting another child to swallow. So Rhea wraps a rock in a baby blanket and presents it to him. Without thinking twice, he grabs the bundle and gulps it down.
So the plan of Rhea is put into place. Kronos has swallowed down the stone instead of Zeus. Zeus then, as an infant, is spirited away, and he's put in what the ancient myth tellers tell us is the folds of the earth.
Zeus has been saved by his mother's cleverness. It's a memorable story, but could that secret cave at the heart of the myth really exist? It seems the ancients thought so. They believed Zeus had been born on the island of Crete. In this mountain cave.
The cave on the island of Crete is perhaps the most important sanctuary for the veneration of Zeus. It was considered as one of the possible places where the baby Zeus was kept hidden from its own father.
Excavations at the cave have revealed that it was a major pilgrimage site for visitors from across the ancient world.
It was a place that people would go to worship Zeus. How do we know? We've excavated thousands of dedications to Zeus and ritual objects to Zeus from all over the Mediterranean.
One find in particular ties directly into the myth of Zeus.
Amongst the material remains were these cool shields that probably were along the walls and were put up there to indicate the clanging of shields that the people defending Zeus used to muffle his crying when he was a baby, so that Kronos could not hear.
A chosen son, hidden to save his life. For Christians and Jews, the story of Zeus's birth is very familiar.
Many religious and mythological traditions have stories of sacred or divine children who are hidden away in order to protect them so that they can grow to adulthood and fulfill their destinies. We think perhaps of Jesus, who is hidden away in the manger so that Herod will not be able to get to him, or of Moses, who is hidden away in Egypt.
In the myth, Zeus quietly comes of age inside the cave.
He has a kind of training period there out of the eyes of Kronos and is able to acquire his strength and develop into a man.
Zeus spends his childhood preparing to fulfill his self-appointed destiny, to challenge his father and the Titans for control of the universe. Zeus has escaped the fate of his siblings, who were all swallowed alive by their father, the Titan Cronus. Inside a remote cave hideaway, he has matured into a fully formed god. Now, he is ready to begin the epic power struggle he was born to wage, to avenge his father's savagery. To liberate his 5 Olympian siblings from his father's belly. And to seize control of the world from the Titans who now rule it.
The stakes for him are tremendously high. If he succeeds, he'll be master of the universe. But if he fails, he may well be the one that winds up down in Tartarus.
Tartarus, the lowest level of Hades, and the ancient Greek equivalent of hell.
Tartarus was the part of Hades where the damned went. The people who were bad or committed offenses against the gods on Earth would be sent to Tartarus.
If Zeus fails in his attempt to seize power from Cronus and the Titans, he'll be damned to this place for all eternity. But if he wins, he'll command gods and men from his throne atop Mount Olympus. In Greek myth, Mount Olympus is the towering home of the gods, but it's also a real location. It's the highest peak in Greece, rising nearly 10,000 feet above sea level. And it's a natural setting for supernatural powers.
The Greeks really believed that their gods actually lived physically on Mount Olympus. It was important for them to actually have a sense of where heaven was, where the gods actually resided.
It is from his home base on Mount Olympus that Zeus engineers his rebellion against Cronus and the Titans.
Zeus is going to have to get others to come in and help him out so that he can achieve supreme power.
This is the ultimate family feud. And so it is to his own flesh and blood that Zeus turns first. He knows his strongest allies will be his 5 siblings, the Olympians, now fully formed adults, but still trapped deep inside Cronus' stomach. If they can be liberated, the Olympians could tip the scales in Zeus's favor and help him destroy the Titans forever.
He wanted to free his brothers and sisters, so he concocted a potion.
Quietly, Zeus enters Cronus' lair and slips the drug into his nightly cup of mead. Cronus drinks it and becomes violently ill. First, he vomits up the stone his wife had given him in place of baby Zeus. According to tradition, that rock is the cornerstone of ancient Greece's most sacred site, the Temple of Delphi, home of the oracle.
Delphi is a sanctuary in Greece where people would come from all around to consult with God. It was a direct phone line up to heaven to ask the answer to anything you wanted.
To this day, thousands of years after the story was first told, the stone that Cronus supposedly vomited is still there.
At the very center of the temple complex at Delphi is an egg-shaped stone that was understood to be the exact stone that played the role of being the substitute for Zeus that Cronos swallowed. And if you go there today to the Temple of Delphi, the locals will still tell you that the stone that's there is the actual one that was in Cronos' belly.
In the myth, after throwing up the sacred stone, Cronus regurgitates Zeus's 5 siblings. And they are ready to join Zeus's revolution.
What marks Zeus as a different kind of leader from those that have come before is his intelligence. He's able to persuade and convince those around him that he should be leader, and he's able to build coalitions.
Zeus now has his siblings by his side, but he still needs more muscle to take on the Titans. And there are some other estranged members of the family who are out for revenge. Forgotten brothers of Cronus, the Cyclops, and the 100-handers. But to find them, Zeus has to go to hell.
Cronos had feared the powers of these 100-handers and the Cyclopses, and he locked them down into Tartarus. Zeus knew that if he could get their power on his side, he could marshal it to his own ends. He goes down and talks to the 100-handers and says, "I will pay you great respect. And I know that my father Cronos has mistreated you. Now I've freed you, and now you owe me." And even they are moved, and they say, "Yes, great Zeus, we realize not only are you very powerful, but you also know how to treat people well. So we appreciate that, and we will now fight on your side."
In gratitude for being liberated, the Cyclops present Zeus with a gift: the power of lightning.
Lightning is one of the most devastatingly powerful forces in nature. When lightning arcs through the air is briefly raised to a temperature that can be more than 50,000 degrees. That's 5 times the surface temperature of the sun.
The lightning bolt gives Zeus the power to rule the universe. With this lightning bolt, no one's going to be able to overthrow him.
The battle lines are drawn. The Titans will fight from Mount Othrys, the Olympians from Mount Olympus. Between them lies the plain of Thessaly. But this isn't just a mythical battlefield.
Thessaly is actually, if we take into consideration the modern map of Greece, is the central part of Greece. It's the biggest plain and the most fertile plain in Greece from ancient times to today.
Thessaly has a long, bloody history, stretching from the Greco-Persian Wars of the 5th century BC to the World Wars of the 20th century AD. And it is here that the ultimate battle of the gods will play out. Armed with a weapon of mass destruction and an elite fighting force, Zeus braces for an earth-shattering battle. And to this day, a real place may still bear the scars. Mythology's defining moment is now at hand. The battle between father and son is about to begin. It's the old guard of Cronus and his Titans versus the new blood of Zeus and the Olympians. The outcome will determine who controls everything. From the top of Mount Olympus, Zeus sends a fury of lightning down upon his father's army. The fighting shakes the earth to its core.
The only way we can conceive of this battle is simply worlds colliding, all the forces in the universe smashing together at once.
You've got the 100-handers over on one side that are ripping off huge hunks of mountain and throwing mountains at the other side. From the Titans, you've got a lot of just brute force and brute strength. They're able to take a punch and keep coming back, coming back, coming back.
It's an apocalyptic scene, and not entirely